Chinedu cast his net into the dark waters, expecting his usual catch. But as he pulled it up, the lake began to glow, an eerie, unnatural light. Then, something massive and unearthly emerged, and it wasn't a fish. "What's this?" Chinedu said, looking scared and surprised. Once upon a time, in a small village called Ojiji, near the Great Lake Victoria, there lived a fisherman named Chinedu. Chinedu was known far and wide as the best fisherman in the village. He could catch more fish in one day than anyone else. But Chinedu had a problem: he was greedy. He wanted to catch as many fish as possible, even if it meant using nets with tiny holes that caught baby fish before they could grow. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Chinedu set out on his wooden canoe. The lake was calm, and the air smelled of wet grass and fresh water. He cast his net, humming a tune, and waited. But this time, something strange happened. The water began to ripple, and a soft, glowing light appeared beneath the surface. Chinedu rubbed his eyes, thinking it was a trick of the moonlight. But the light grew brighter, and suddenly, a figure emerged from the water. It was a woman, but not an ordinary one. Her skin shimmered like fish scales, and her hair flowed like the waves of the lake. She was one of the spirits of Lake Victoria. "Chinedu," she said, her voice echoing like the sound of water rushing over stones. "You have taken too much from the lake. You catch the young fish before they can grow, and you leave nothing for the future. The lake is crying, and the spirits are angry." Chinedu's heart raced. He had heard stories of the spirits, but he never believed they were real. I didn't know," he stammered. "I just wanted to provide for my family." The spirit's eyes softened. "The lake provides for everyone, but only if we respect it. You must change your ways, Chinedu. If you do not, the lake will no longer give you fish, and your village will suffer." Before Chinedu could reply, the spirit disappeared into the water, leaving him alone with his thoughts. He paddled back to the village, his mind heavy with worry. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about the spirit's words and the future of his village. The next morning, Chinedu called a meeting with the other fishermen. He told them about the spirit and warned them about the dangers of overfishing. At first, some of the fishermen laughed, thinking Chinedu had gone mad. But others listened, especially the older ones who remembered the days when the lake was full of fish. "We must change," Chinedu said. "We must use nets with bigger holes to let the young fish escape. And we must not fish during the breeding season. If we do this, the lake will continue to provide for us and our children." Some of the fishermen agreed, but others were hesitant. They were afraid they wouldn't catch enough fish to sell at the market. Chinedu knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to try. Days turned into weeks, and Chinedu kept his promise. He used nets with bigger holes and avoided fishing in certain areas. At first, his catches were smaller, and he earned less money. But then, something amazing happened. The fish began to return. Big, healthy fish that had been given time to grow. The other fishermen noticed and started to follow Chinedu's example. Slowly but surely, the lake began to heal. The villagers were happy, and Chinedu felt proud of what they had accomplished. But one night, as Chinedu sat by the lake, the spirit appeared again. This time, her face was stern. "You have done well, Chinedu," she said. "But the work is not finished. There is still much to do to protect the lake and its creatures." Chinedu nodded. "I understand. I will do whatever it takes." The spirit smiled. "Then listen carefully, for I have more to tell you." The spirit's smile was warm, but her eyes were serious. She pointed to the center of the lake, where the moonlight danced on the water. "Chinedu, the lake is alive, just like you and me. It breathes, It grows, and it feels. But it cannot speak for itself. That is why the spirits are here, to protect it and to guide those who listen. Chinedu leaned forward, his heart pounding. "What else must I do?" he asked. The spirit's voice grew softer, like the whisper of the wind. "The lake is connected to everything around it, the trees, the birds, the soil, and even the rain. If one part suffers, the whole lake suffers. You must teach your people to care for the land as well as the water. Do not cut down the trees near the shore, for their roots hold the soil together. Do not throw waste into the water, for it poisons the fish and the plants. And most importantly, teach the children to love and respect the lake, so they will protect it when they grow up." Chinedu nodded, his mind racing. He had never thought about how everything was connected. "I will do as you say," he promised. "But how will I convince the others? Some of them still don't believe in the spirits." The spirit's eyes sparkled. "Show them the proof. Let them see how the lake rewards those who care for it. And remember, Chinedu, you are not alone. The spirits will guide you, but you must take the first step." With that, the spirit vanished into the water, leaving Chinedu alone once more. He sat there for a long time, thinking about her words. The next morning, he gathered the villagers again. This time, he didn't just talk to the fisherman. He called the farmers, the traders, the women, and even the children. "The lake is our life," he said. "It gives us fish, water, and food. But it needs our help to stay healthy. If we cut down the trees near the shore, the soil will wash into the lake and make it dirty. If we throw trash into the water, the fish will get sick. We must work together to protect the lake, not just for ourselves, but for our children and their children." At first, some people grumbled. "What does this have to do with us?" asked Mama Nkechi, who sold vegetables at the market. "We are not fishermen." Chinedu smiled. "But you drink the water from the lake, don't you? And you eat the fish. If the lake is sick, we will all suffer." The villagers began to murmur among themselves. They had never thought about it that way. Slowly, they started to agree. They decided to plant more trees near the shore and to clean up the trash that had been thrown into the water. The children helped too, picking up litter and learning about the importance of the lake. Weeks passed, and the village began to change. The water in the lake became clearer, and the fish grew bigger and more plentiful. Birds returned to the trees, and the air smelled fresher. The villagers were happy, and they thanked Chinedu for his wisdom. But one night, as Chinedu sat by the lake, he noticed something strange. The water began to ripple, and the glowing light appeared again. This time, the spirit did not come alone. She was accompanied by two other spirits, one with the wings of a heron and the other with the scales of a crocodile. "Chinedu," the first spirit said, "you have done well. But there is one more task you must complete. The lake is healing, but it is still in danger. Far upstream, there are people who do not know about the balance of nature. They are cutting down trees and polluting the water. You must go to them and teach them what you have learned." Chinedu's heart sank. He had never left his village before. The thought of traveling upstream filled him with fear. But he knew he couldn't refuse. "I will go," he said bravely. "But I will need help." The spirit smiled. "You will not go alone," they said. "The lake will guide you, and we will watch over you. But remember, the journey will not be easy. You will face many challenges, and not everyone will listen to you." Chinedu took a deep breath. He knew this was his destiny. The next morning, he packed his canoe with food, water, and a few tools. The villagers gathered to wish him well. "Be careful, Chinedu," said his best friend, Emeka. "We will miss you." "I will return," Chinedu promised. "And when I do, I will bring back even more knowledge to protect our lake." With that, he pushed his canoe into the water and began his journey upstream. The sun rose high in the sky, and the lake sparkled like a sea of diamonds. Chinedu paddled steadily, his heart filled with hope and determination. But as he rounded the first bend in the river, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A group of men were cutting down trees near the water's edge, and the soil was crumbling into the river. Chinedu knew he had to act quickly, but he also knew he couldn't do it alone. Chinedu steered his canoe closer to the men, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "Hello," he called again. "I am Chinedu, from the village of Ojiji. I have come to talk to you about the lake and the trees." The men stopped their work and turned to look at him. One of them, a tall man with a machete in his hand, frowned. "What do you want, stranger? We are busy here." Chinedu climbed out of his canoe and approached them carefully. "I understand you need wood for your homes and fires," he said, "but cutting down these trees near the water is harming the lake. The soil is washing into the river, and it's making the water dirty. If we don't protect the trees, the lake will suffer, and so will all of us." The men exchanged glances. Some of them looked skeptical, but one younger man stepped forward. "What do you mean, the lake will suffer?" he asked. Chinedu smiled. He could see that this man was curious, and curiosity was the first step to understanding. "The trees hold the soil together with their roots," he explained. "When we cut them down, the soil washes into the water. This makes it hard for fish to breathe and for plants to grow. Over time, the lake will become sick, and there will be no more fish for us to catch." The younger man nodded slowly. "I never thought about it like that," he said. "But what can we do? We need wood to build our homes and cook our food." "There is a way," Chinedu said. "We can plant new trees to replace the ones we cut down. And we can cut trees farther away from the water, where the soil won't wash into the lake. It will take more effort, but it will help the lake stay healthy for generations to come." The men began to murmur among themselves. The tall man with the machete crossed his arms. "This sounds like a lot of work," he said. "Why should we listen to you?" Chinedu took a deep breath. "Because the lake is our life," he said. "It gives us water, fish, and food. If we take care of it, it will take care of us. But if we destroy it, we will have nothing left." The younger man stepped forward again. "I think he's right," he said. "We should try what he's saying. What do we have to lose?" Slowly, the other men began to agree. They decided to stop cutting trees near the water and to plant new ones instead. Chinedu stayed with them for several days, teaching them how to care for the land and the lake. By the time he left, the men had promised to spread the word to other villages upstream. When Chinedu returned to Ojiji, the villagers welcomed him with cheers and songs. They could see the change in the lake, the water was clearer, the fish were bigger, and the birds were singing in the trees. Chinedu felt proud of what they had accomplished. That night, as he sat by the lake, the spirit appeared once more. This time, her face was filled with joy. "You have done well, Chinedu," she said. "You have shown that even one person can make a difference. But remember, the lake will always need protectors. Teach your children, and their children, to love and respect nature. Only then will the lake continue to thrive." Chinedu nodded. "I will," he promised. "And I will never forget the lessons I have learned." The spirit smiled and disappeared into the water, leaving Chinedu with a heart full of hope. Moral lesson: nature is a gift that provides for us, but it is also fragile. If we take too much without giving back, we risk losing everything. By respecting and caring for the environment, we ensure that it will continue to provide for us and for future generations. Just like Chinedu, we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions may seem. If you like more African tales like this, Please leave us a like, share and comment your thoughts about the story. Please don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Bye for now.